There's been a lot that's been going on in the Wuthering Waves community that's crossed over the last couple weeks, and I wanted to take a minute to just kind of address everything that has gone on, recap some of the things you might have missed, as well as giving my takes on them. I was out for the last month, and so I didn't get a chance to talk about this, which led to a small little call out. This comment had the audacity to say, Lamau, bro purposely took a break when Wuthering Waves anniversary flop drama, peak Kuro shill behavior. 1, I believe the term is Kuro bot, so I would like to be referred to as a Kuro bot, please. Also 2, I also hold the title of Hoyo shill because I do still shill for Zenless Zone Zero. I expect to have both titles in my comments, please. Jeez Louise, and if you're gonna use it correctly. But no, to be honest, I just think this is funny as heck. But I wanted to use it as an opportunity to go, yeah, let's just address everything that's there. So with that, let's talk about the anniversary, Zany, Chacona, some of the content creator drama, and the anniversary itself, as well as some of the new drip marketing that just dropped less than a day ago. Now, the first thing I just wanted to talk about here is the anniversary, the events, and the rewards that came along with it. And to be honest, I didn't make a separate video about this because there wasn't much more to be said that I disagreed with in terms of the general consensus in the content creator space. I thought the patch itself was fine. The events themselves were fine, meaning like acceptable or passable, but they definitely fell short in regard to an anniversary overall. I think they definitely could have been more generous with the rewards out the gate. They could have offered a little bit more, but I am happy that they did at least turn around and give a little bit more after the community was, rightfully so, I think, really disappointed with what was originally there. Could they have done more? I think they probably could have, but to be honest, I'm still generally okay with what rewards that we received for it. Now, the developers did say to really keep an eye out for the next patch because they've got some more coming, and so, look, I'm gonna have a little bit of optimism here because I think so far Kuro Games has done a really good job in how they've been treating their players. I love this meme that gets circulated around in the community as the overall cycle for Kuro Games. I think right about now we're entering the they're cooking the stage, especially with the recent additions of the drip marketing for Cardathia and Lupa, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. But overall, I'm not doom posting about Wuthering Waves as of right now. I think they've been doing a pretty good job. But speaking of doom posting, I think that leads us to our next topic, talking a little bit about Chacona, Zany, and some of the Zany kit controversy. Now, as far as Chacona is concerned, I don't believe there's really been any controversy about Chacona. She looks really good. I overall really like her design, and I'm excited for the character. I originally was contemplating skipping the character. However, it seems like there's a good chance she may end up being best in slot for Cardathia, who's basically being drip marketed for the next patch now, so that might completely rework how I approach it. I'm gonna be honest, gang, I might be cooked. I already dropped a little bit of money to get Zany in this case, and now it looks like I might have to get Chacona so I can get Cardathia. I'm cooked at this point. Kuro keeps cooking on these characters, not gonna lie. However, Zany was a little bit of a different conversation. There was a lot more controversy about her kit, of if it was too premium, if it was not free-to-play friendly, and there was a ton of doom posting about the power creep in Wuthering Waves along with it. Now the first thing was if you needed Peeb on your account to enable her Spectral Frazzle portion of her kit that you needed to get the maximum stacks that you needed to have her, basically, making Zany a premium unit in that case. I think personally overall when it comes to the whole Zany kit situation, I'm not going to bore you with all the numbers. It seems to me like it's almost like a rehash of what happened with Brant. Brant was getting a lot of doom posting about how it was very difficult to meet his maximum energy regen percentage if you didn't have his premium weapon. However, you didn't need to hit that maximum percentage to really enable his kit and to use him in the game. And I think we're dealing with a similar situation with Zany, but that's just my take on it. If you want more feuding about it, you can leave that to the theory crafters. Which leads me to the conversation of what happened around Saint Miyagi and Selkie recently. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really weigh on this much at the time because really, it's a nothing burger. I think the whole thing is a bit of a nothing burger, and there's just a little bit of snaky behavior taking place on the part of Maggie and Selkie. Now, I personally have no animosity towards either of those creators. I've not personally had any kind of feeling with them. I've talked to Selkie before. We've had nothing but pleasant conversation in the past. However, what kind of unfolded in that situation was a little bit rough. What basically took place, in case you didn't know, is Maggie, who is another theory crafter in the community, was releasing spreadsheets about how, with Zany coming into the game, there's been about a 15% power creep added into Wuthering Waves now if you maximize her kit. There was disagreement between Saint on how those numbers were being calculated, especially when those 15% was being used as a justification for doom posting about the future of Wuthering Waves and claiming that it was worse than HSR, being brought in as another comparison off the back of all the Casterus drama and everything else that's been happening there. Now, I'm going to be honest, I really don't care much about the actual spreadsheet argumentation. I care more about what the percentage is being used for doom posting surrounding the game. So as far as the spreadsheets are concerned, I'm going to invoke the now retired Hex Juice and say, spreadsheets wajaja! No one actually cares. Personally, like I said, my biggest frustration is that 15% being used for the Doom posting about the game in the comparison to Honkai Star Rail, but let's be real, that is not a fair comparison to even be comparing the games to begin with. Now, we can do some comparison in terms of like business practice, and we want to talk about, as a gacha game, how they're building their characters and kind of the impact that has on the market, or how they want to structure their monetization model and how that may impact the space overall. There's a lot of things we can discuss from a business sense, but as far as like gameplay, power creep, and that comparison goes, it's never really been a great comparison or one that I've appreciated. So if we are going to make some comparisons, it should be to Genshin Impact. But let's be honest, a lot of people don't like comparing Genshin Impact to Wuthering Waves because it's a pretty clear winner for what's happening there. And no one actually cares about comparing Genshin Impact anymore because everybody knows what's actually going on. Also, on the side note of Genshin Impact, if you're interested to see what I think about Nod Cry in the future, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe we can go in and take a look at the more details that they've released about that and the kind of future of the game. It is a little bit interesting to see the changes that they're making there, I'm gonna be honest. But just to finalize my perspective on the whole thing, no, I don't believe the power creep is as bad as Honkai Star Rail, and it's not a very apt comparison. I don't really care about the spreadsheet argumentation that's taking place, but I do care that that 15% is being used to Doom post, especially now that that 15% has been bumped up to 25% power creep in the game, when it's basically based on like robot precision to make that happen. I think it's super silly. I'm gonna be honest, the whole thing is just super silly to me, and I think the overall conclusion just kind of exposes that for what it is. Now, there was a bit of a debate that happened between Saint, Selkie, and Maggie, kind of talking about the whole situation, with some other content creators weighing in there as well, pertaining to, Fob Master, Tectone, Captain Cabinets, Ethan, Itoma, all kind of discussing the whole situation as a whole. And really what it all came down to is Maggie was kind of talking shit, and Maggie got called out for it, and I think that final portion of the podcast really kind of says it all.
So I really think this whole like absolving yourself of like responsibility and then leaving it up to interpretation of whoever's seeing it when you're actively going ahead and then saying all this shit, I think that's a pretty, I think that's a bit of a rat move. I'm gonna be honest. I think you're going ahead and you're really giving yourself a lot of benefit of the doubt here when you're literally on the record. I can show the screenshots too. It'll take me a minute to find them, but I've got the screenshots of you talking shit as recently as April 15th.
Nope.
Can I go find them?
Nope. I think this guy's pretty much over and shot. I think we're all done here, boys. What do y'all think?
I feel like there's really not much more to talk about this. We've already gone through all of this.
I'm gonna be honest, that silence was deafening. Maggie got called out, and again, I've got nothing personally against Maggie, but I think content creators as a whole, we need to chill out with this kind of snaky behind the scenes behavior of calling people out like this. If you're gonna do it, either have it in a DM or just like freaking make it public. Let's not be snakes about all this. If I'm really being honest, I was mostly just disappointed with that situation overall. I really think it started from a nothing burger. It was the dumbest nothing burger I've ever seen. Everybody's freaking chill with your freaking spreadsheets, okay? Like, we're just freaking playing the game and having a good time. That's really all I care about this. I have no enemies. I don't actually care at the end of the day. I don't hate Selkie. I don't hate Maggie. I don't hate anybody here. But like, come on. So that's all the stuff that's kind of happened previously in the game. I'm not going to be talking fully about the latest story patch of Wuthering Waves because I haven't had a chance to fully complete everything this patch has to offer, and I want to do that before I kind of give a more lengthy video on that. But I do want to talk about the recent drip marketing that just came out. This recent teaser was dropped for Kartathea, and look, we all knew Kartathea was coming anyway. It's going to be a playable character, but I'm gonna be honest, with this new splash art that they've just revealed along with it, I am so incredibly hyped for it. I was planning on pulling her, and this has just done everything to reaffirm that for me. Of course, I want to pull on Kartathea. It's just made me a little bit more confused about Chacona now, what I'm gonna do with her. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of cooked. But the one thing that was a really big surprise here was the other character that got teased. The other character that got teased was a character known as Lupa, which I'm gonna be honest, I had never really heard of this character before. I did not expect this character to be coming in this patch because I'm a good boy who doesn't look at leaks. Anyway, I still was genuinely surprised that she was announced. And let's just take a look at her design here really quick. I'm gonna be honest, she looks phenomenal. I am a big fan of Vera when it comes to PGR, the original, original long-haired red girl with a big pole arm. She's a fantastic character. One of my favorite characters in Punishing Grey Raven. And it seems like they've really done kind of a service and kind of paying an homage to that character here. They did so a little bit more with Yin Lin, but it seems like they're kind of diving back into that a little bit more with Lupa and kind of combining her with one of Vera's squad mates, number 21 Feral Scent. There's like a little bit of a combination there with like kind of the twin tails in there. I think she looks really cool. I'm really interested to see what her kit's going to be. I think it's very clear that she's going to be a fire character, and I think she looks very cool. But also knowing that there's some other really cool characters that are potentially coming, that like Frolova, potentially coming. like Frolova is a character I'm also potentially really excited for, that it's really hard for me to say if I'm going to pull this character or not, if I'm being completely honest. So I'll be interested to see as we get more gameplay and get to see more of her final kit, what that looks like. But to be honest, the one thing I'm still really struggling with and wrestling with is Cardathea and Chikona. I really don't know what I'm going to do with that at this point. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Who are you pulling for? But that's it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on everything that's happening kind of in the Wuthering Waves community in the last month or so. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think I'm off base? Who do you think you're going to be pulling for? I love chatting with you guys in the comments and kind of seeing what you're interested about there in the future. So yeah, let me know what you think. But if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you're interested in variety content and a collab I did with some other content creators, you can click the link on the video now. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.